Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we've got another DIY video. We're going to basically be taking out the struts for the Sebring and putting in new ones. And if you actually didn't see my Sebring review before, I'll leave like a link to it up here in like the video. But yeah, if you saw the review, you know that the struts are absolutely terrible with this thing. And also, if you saw the review, by the way, I did not break anything in the transmission. It was just the engine code that normally comes up. But yeah, right now on this side, basically the wheel's already off. It looks like what you're going to need for this job, if you're doing this by yourself at home, you're going to need at least an impact gun, many different wrenches, and it's very possible to do this job by yourself, but it is going to be a pretty involved process, so I'll try to walk you guys through every part of it. Yes, before I actually talk about what to do from this point forward, I did just want to mention that to take these wheels off this specific car, a 2001 Chrysler Sebring, it is 19 millimeter lug nuts right here. So again, if you have this specific car, that's the size for the lug nuts, but all cars are pretty much different. All right, so now we're actually just going to take this off, which is 21 millimeters, and then this side is actually 18. But you do have to kind of hold it on the other side. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that side is actually 15 millimeters. So these are kind of like the tools that I'm using, but yeah, I'm just gonna show you guys. We're gonna take this off and then that out, and then we're gonna actually go up to the top and take these 4 bolts out, and hopefully the entire thing should come out. I don't know if there's more to it than that, but we'll see. All right, so these 4 bolts up here, or actually I just tested 18 millimeters, so we're gonna go to that in a second, but first, like I said, we're gonna do all that bottom part first, and then come up here. All right, so before I actually get into kind of actually taking off or taking apart the entire assembly, I did just want to briefly mention that one tip to use is actually use the jack that you have, or like once your car is basically up on stands, you can actually use the jack that you use to jack up the car to kind of just put a little pressure on the bottom of the entire assembly, because you don't really know if this is actually under like a load or under a pressure. And again, it's old, so you don't want it like falling on you if you're kind of sitting there undoing it. So we kind of just set that up before I actually just get into this and undo the bolts that I just said. Alright guys, so now as you can see, the jack is still underneath for safety, but everything's kind of out of this bottom half here, and now we're just going to loosen these up. I kind of already broke them open, but we're just going to take them out and try to lower the entire thing down and hopefully take it out of its like little sleeve right here. And then as you can see, we kind of have the new assembly all right over there, but I kind of want to take both out and then put them next to both of the new ones and kind of show you guys the difference, because this car desperately needs this repair. Hey guys, so another thing is that if you're doing this specific job on this car, you do want to take the brake caliper just off of the rotor, because the brake line was actually like keeping this entire assembly up. Now, when I don't suggest you disconnect the actual line, but you just kind of like, you should definitely rest the like the entire assembly like on the jack that you're using. So now also basically the last thing I'm going to do is kind of take this out. I'm going to get the sizes for each side, and then hopefully the entire thing should slide out. Alright guys, so now I actually got the sizes for this. So On the left side, which is actually the nut side, it's 18 millimeters, and on the right side it's actually 15 millimeters. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get a little clip of me taking this apart. This is actually the bolt side, so we're going to make sure that that stays in. I'll probably hit that out with a hammer, and then the entire thing will, you know, come out. But for now, I'm just going to take it off and make sure the bolt stays in, and then, you know, just take the nut off that left side there. That I'm actually going to take both of the old ones out and compare them both to both of the new ones, but honestly that just makes no sense. It's just going to make more of a mess. But anyways, here's actually the passenger side old strut, and here's the new strut, or the complete assembly really. And you guys can, I mean, just feeling this, like, this isn't moving at all, whereas this is very smooth. And just like this bushing right here, it's very stiff, it's good rubber, where this bushing is practically non-existent. So basically all we're going to do now is we're just going to take off this fork assembly, put it on the new one, and then just, you know, install it back in. We're actually going to put that piece on as we're kind of installing it in. So I don't know what clips I'm going to get from the installation, but I know once this side is in, once this is all good, I'm going to transition over to the driver's side. And the driver's side I should fly through, but I'll pretty much, I won't really talk during the driver's side. I'll just include all the clips, like taking it apart and installing the new pieces. Alright guys, so now you guys can see the new strut is kind of fitted in. Nothing's really on, but you can see that the fork assembly is actually on it, but nothing's really actually bolted in yet, except for these two little bolts up here. So just a quick tip, if you're doing this job at your house and it's just you, or it's you and another person, definitely be sure, once you kind of have it fitted up here, just be sure to kind of hand tighten 2 bolts in, because that does support like the entire load of this entire assembly. Alright guys, so the first bolts that I'm actually going to tighten down and torque down are these 4. Now I'm going to do it in kind of like a crisscross pattern, and when you're doing it for this specific car, this specific job, the torque specs are actually, you have to torque these down to 68 foot-pounds of torque. Alright guys, so now these 4 bolts are actually completely torqued down to 68 foot-pounds of torque like they're supposed to be. So now the next thing you're going to do is come down here, and this bolt, I forgot the name of it, but that bolt is actually going to get torqued down to 52 foot-pounds of torque. Alright guys, so now that one is torqued down to 52 foot-pounds of torque, and now this one actually has to get torqued down to 65 foot-pounds of torque. And then I'm actually going to jack up this kind of whole assembly, because it says to put the car on its own weight, but I really don't want to like lower it and actually put it on the ground. But we're just going to jack it up until it kind of starts to raise up this entire assembly. And there is a couple more things that you do have to do, and I'll show you guys that in a second. Alright guys, so now basically everything is torqued down to the right specs. The actual rotor is actually cleaned. We just sprayed that down with brake cleaner. So now we're just gonna kind of put on this passenger side front wheel, and, you know, bring this side of the car down, and I'm just gonna be working on the other side. And since I tried to show you guys practically everything on this side, the other side's going to be identical. If there's any differences, which I doubt they're going to be, but if there's any differences, I will show it to you. But I'm pretty much just going to do a montage of this side, and then I'm going to kind of give you guys my reactions. We're going to get this out on the road and take it for a test drive. Alright guys, so now it's actually the next day. And I have to say, the first thing I noticed right off the bat after replacing these struts is that there's like no steering slop whatsoever. Like the steering's really responsive now. Now I'm getting a little bit of noise from the rotors because it did sit out like overnight with like the rotors out, so there's definitely a little surface rust on the rotors, but that'll like wear off over time. That's not like this big deal. But yeah, I mean, like normally when you do struts on a vehicle, like everything, I don't say everything changes, but like you definitely do feel a difference even if they're in decent shape. And if you guys watched the review for this specific car, you know that they were in terrible shape, so it definitely helps out a lot. And this car does feel like, I don't want to say brand new again, because you know you still have like the door panel falling off and stuff like that, but like just mechanically it does feel a lot more tighter. Now this car is front wheel drive, so it does pull very good in corners to begin with, but now with the new struts it goes around the corners so nice. It handles corners really well. Now that being said, the engine, you know, you can still tell has a lot of miles on it. The transmission is still clunky getting into gears and stuff like that, but the struts definitely did make a huge difference. Now the one thing that actually is, I kind of feel I'm getting some noise from this driver's side. I think it's either like a tie rod end or something, because I know that they're not new, so I might be ripping apart this car again in the near future and doing, you know, another DIY video with it. But honestly, for now, like it's here, I'm gonna go over some bumps right now. Yeah, it kind of eats up the bumps really well. And honestly, like one thing to really tell, like one thing that my dad told me when I was like a little kid, and I still kind of use it as like a tip, is that one thing to look at when a car is going over bumps is that if its tire, like if the actual, I guess, entire wheel setup like is very floaty when going over bumps and kind of like stays off the ground for a longer period of time, then normally it needs, you know, new struts. But if the tire kind of stays planted and it kind of just like eats up the bumps, then like the suspension should be fine. Now that's just kind of like a tip to use for like any like just regular commuter cars. Now obviously if you have like some crazy track car or something like that, like that's kind of gonna dictate like how the suspension acts. But I know at least for like a regular like daily driver or commuter car like this, if it's very like floaty and very like wobbly overall, like a bunch of bumps, and it just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right, then more times than not you're probably going to need to replace the struts, kind of like what I did with this thing. Alright guys, so that's pretty much just going to wrap up today's video. Thank you guys if you stuck to the end. Thanks for the support. Make sure to leave a comment, make sure to subscribe. Honestly, these videos are getting like more and more fun to make, so definitely also leave a comment down below, like let me know what else you guys might want to see from me, specifically for this one. I know this was a DIY video, so like let me know if you guys any problems with any cars, really, just like let me know, and then I'll try to, you know, help you guys a lot. I mean, right now I'm like a super small channel, you guys all know this, so I try to respond to pretty much every comment. And you know, sometimes like I actually feel like I might help people, which is a pretty good feeling. But yeah, just definitely leave a comment down below. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and if I know the answer, because again, I'm not like this, I'm not an encyclopedia or anything. There's a lot of people who know a lot more stuff about cars than I do. But if I can help you guys, like just definitely leave a comment down below. But yeah, that's pretty much just gonna wrap up today's video. So until the next one, see you guys.